Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our Newcastle preview is the original team. AJ, how you doing, buddy?
Not bad, sir. Not bad. Glad to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back, mate. Drew, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And Mozza, how you doing, mate?
Very well, thank you. Glad to be back with the Ful-on OGs.
Yes. We're here to talk about Newcastle away coming up this Saturday. A tough trip for Fulham this weekend, considering our injury issues. Uh, Newcastle's always a really hard place to go to anyway, even though we do occasionally pull out a result. Uh, Here to obviously discuss what we're expecting to come from the game and stuff. I do want to quickly just go over what I'm considering to be a rather concerning pre-match conference that came out from Marco Silva today. Obviously, he confirmed that we are still looking to be without a few players. Anderson definitely out. And we know that Robinson is also still out, I believe. Good news is Kenny Tete looks like he's going to be back for this game. We may well see him come back in to start for this game. Maybe see Timothy Castagna play on the left-hand side. We don't know. We'll discuss that in a minute. What was quite interesting about his press conference day, though, was he spent an awful lot of time talking about Newcastle's recruitment, which for me seemed a bit of a loaded message about ours. But we've had this discussion at length on Sunday's show. If you haven't gone back to watch this review show from last weekend's game, we do speak quite a bit about Marco Silva and some of the stuff like this. Let's talk about this game coming up this weekend. AJ, question I always ask you, mate. Looking at the squad, looking at who's fit, looking at who's available, are you expecting any changes this weekend? What are you expecting from the team of availability for the game on Saturday?
Well, Marco Silva seems to have alluded to Lukic being in contention for the game and seems to suspect that we're going to get a Berge Lukic pivot again. But basically, in that conversation, he kind of just writ off the idea of Alex Iwobi playing in the 8 next to Berge. So let's not consider that or question that anymore before we get called full directly by Marco himself. In regards to the lineup, I don't expect Tete to start, but maybe he features at some point during the game. I'd still expect Castagna out wide. Diop's going to come in, I'd imagine. And then I can't see a reason Cuenca gets dropped. Then there's just the question mark of Wilson is out. Chukwueze is out, which means either Adama Traore has to start at right wing or Ryan Sessegnon does. Or Castagna, because we've seen that twice already this season, but I didn't want to think about that. I'm hoping it's Ryan Sessegnon at right wing and maybe Bassi at left back. We'll have to wait and see. As for the striker role, it's going to be Muniz and Iwobi out on the left-hand side because it's impossible to drop him.
Yeah, we could have Vinicius Junior and Iwobi would still play. We know that. You bring up an interesting point, looking at the fences and obviously left back and potentially of seeing Ryan Sessegnon playing on right wing with considering injuries. I don't hate the idea of seeing Bassi playing left back because it would also mean Cuenca would play, and I think he deserves to after his performance last week. I think it would be exceptionally harsh to drop him after the performance he gave last Saturday night, sorry, against Arsenal. I thought he was very good, and he has been every single time he's played for us. If there's any player who's probably proven he deserves a shot at some actual game time, it is him. Drew, I know you always champion Ryan Sessegnon not being a left back. Would you be happy to see him moved up the pitch and that Bassi and left back, Cuenca centre back movement?
Well, of course. But Silva made it quite clear today that those of us out here talking about Fulham and what we'd like to see clearly don't matter to him. we matter so little. We made a point of mentioning it today, which I thought was quite interesting. Obviously, Silva gets the money to make the decisions. We're all Silva in. We all know that. We've gone on record saying that a number of times. What I'd really like to know, and I don't mind him calling me stupid, he wouldn't be the first person. He won't be the last person to do that. But what I would like to know is his actual rationale. I mean, he spent £40 million on a striker, near enough, but he's still playing Iwobi on the left. I would just like to know why. I would like to know why he is so wedded to the idea, it seems, of the Lukic-Berge pivot. I'd like to know why he doesn't think Iwobi can do a job in the centre. Just simply, it would be nice to be able to... you're giving us an opportunity to talk about it and understand it from our point of view, because obviously we don't have our UEFA coaching licenses. But going back to your question, yes, I'd love to see Sessegnon further up the pitch. For those of you very good memories will remember when we beat, I think it was Newcastle 4-1 at St James's Park. Sessegnon was very much an architect of that in his breakthrough season under Djukanovic. I do wonder, bearing in mind our injuries elsewhere, whether we're going to go 5 at the back and we are going to see Sessegnon and Tete as effectively wing backs with a Bassi, Cuenca, Diop centre back arrangement. But yeah, I'd very much like to see Sessegnon play further forward. I'd like to see Kevin start, quite frankly. And then
I assumed you meant Kevin when you said £40 million striker. I assumed you meant winger.
Yeah, near enough. I can't remember.
How
much did we spend? What was it? 37 million or something? Was it?
Yes. The price is the price.
I mean,
oh, we're talking about ESR. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all disappointed about that. Well, the good thing about, as you've mentioned, Ash, good thing about playing Sess and Kevin is you can genuinely rotate them, both sides, which is something that I don't think we do enough of myself. But, I'm wrong. Adama will start. Lukic will be back in the centre and Iwobi will be on the left because, Silva doesn't care what we think.
Don't question his rationale, mate. That's the steer. I think playing 5 at the back would be quite interesting. We know it's something we've done, especially considering the fact that we have one fit striker, and the fact my only concern with that would be it would mean we have no substitute defenders because they'd all be on the pitch. So that would be slightly concerning. But we'll have to go and see what we get from it. I think it's been a real tough couple of weeks for Fulham, and I think we're really starting to feel the bite of Marco's small squad, old squad wants, especially with injuries. I know a couple of the injuries we couldn't help. We joked about the fact that the most used Fulham thing on Saturday night was our club doctor, but it's one of those things, isn't it? That there's nothing you can do about it. Going into a game like Newcastle, we know how good Newcastle are at home. We know how well they're supported at home. We know how much they step up their game when they play Brighton last week, in which they narrowly lost, but they weren't that bad. We know how good they are. They've managed to replace a great striker with a decent, good-looking striker who's looking like he's doing really well. It's taken to the Premier League quite well. Marco mentioned that recruitment today, which felt more like a dig at maybe that we haven't replaced some of our strikers that we've got rid of. It's been 3 years since we got rid of Mitro, and we still haven't really replaced him for what he is. But it is what it is. Mozza, going into a game like Newcastle away, I'm more confident this week than I was going into the Arsenal game in terms of the ability to come away with a result. And we spoke about last week being all about mentality, and we weren't expecting a result. We just wanted to see certain things, and I think we were all quite happy with what we saw last week, especially with some of the players that stepped in. What do you want to see from this game on Saturday? What are you expecting to see from Fulham?
What am I expecting? Sorry, I almost was mixing it up with what I want. If we're all I can do is sort of think about the lineup still. Yes, I think it. Well, obviously it will be Rail up front. I'm interested. I don't. Sorry, when Drew, you were just talking about it. I didn't know if it was you having a laugh or if when you said Lukic will be on the field. Is it because he's out for weeks, isn't he? Or have I got that
No,
completely wrong?
no, he's in
No, we're
contention.
quite lucky. We're quite lucky he's in contention for this game.
He is. Oh, okay, right. Blimey, because even like looking it up on the Fulham website, I mean, who would have thought the Fulham website would be full of wrong information? It's not like them. Yeah, I thought they had named him as not being available, but yeah. What am I expecting? What am I expecting? Newcastle, we got 6 points out of them home and away last season. When we were at St James's Park, actually. But obviously I wasn't there in person, but when I was watching it on TV, I remember it being quite an exciting game. I'm going to go to you, AJ. Can you remind me of the score? Because I feel like it was something that we just scraped by, or maybe had a late winner, or were we behind to
I
begin with?
genu-
Does
I
anybody
genuinely
remember?
don't
2-1. We
genuinely
won
don't remember
2-1.
off the top of my head.
It was
We
2-1?
won 2-1 at St James's Park last season. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
Uh,
was
it was
there.
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to
Okay.
say
Oh
Drew was
well.
there.
Yeah, but did
Yeah,
we
we're
did
there
we
again
go
this
1-0?
time.
Did we go 1-0 down first, Drew? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ash is nodding away. Yeah. So it was a close shave, but who doesn't love it when you see a game with a comeback like that? But I remember that being very intense, very exciting. As far as I can remember, we played quite well. So coming off the back of how we've played against Arsenal, I'm not too concerned. I'm not as concerned as I was before the actual Arsenal game last week. Um, I do want to see Kawanka starting. I think he's earned that place. I think it's going to be very interesting whatever we do in the defence, whether it is that five at the back. And do you know what? I actually want to see Timmy C starting over Tete. Not because I think he's a better player. Yeah, I can see the look on your face there, Drew. But I don't think Tete is still like match fit.
Mm,
And I, I,
valid.
I, I hope I'm wrong. And I will circle back to this later when we talk about like our score predictions and the players to watch. It will tie into it, I promise. But yeah, Bassi, I still cannot see him changing Silva. This is out of that left back position, just out of his stubbornness. So we're looking at Berger and Lukic in the midfield. Um, Sorry to go round the houses. I'll tell you what I expect, and this isn't giving away anything too early, how we finish our podcast as usual. I fancy a Josh King first goal for Fulham. I'm not giving you my score prediction yet, but he is sniffing, and with Wilson out, and probably a lot of people are relieved at that after last week. I think it's going to be, yeah, all eyes on Josh King. I think this is going to be his game to have a debut goal at least.
Yeah. Well, I'll take it. That's for sure. I reckon once he scores one, he might have a little bit of a run. So I would take Josh King scoring. AJ, a couple of things that I've seen quite a lot of Fulham fans talking about this week is around Josh King and ESR. A lot of people frustrated about the fact that obviously our two record signings in Kevin and ESR both sit on the bench week in, week out at the moment. I'm
Hmm.
less concerned about ESR because I genuinely think that Josh King
He
is
had a
already a better
season.
footballer than he is. Yeah, I
Yep.
genuinely think that Josh King is already a better footballer than he is, so I don't have a problem with that. But we do really need to start playing Kevin, right? We really need to start getting him started in games and letting him actually have a run out of teams from the beginning and not just bit part games. Considering that we have obviously a League Cup game coming up during the week next week, do you think maybe we might see that on Saturday, or are we all just with Marco's
We'll see
comments
him.
today? Are we all just barking up the wrong tree? We know Iwobi's starting. It doesn't matter.
Iwobi starting, what wouldn't surprise me is if it's something silly like Iwobi starts on the right and ESR starts on the left with King in the midfield alongside Lukic and Berge, so that we can basically have all 5 of them congest the midfield to try and beat what is arguably the best midfield in the league in Tonali, Guimarães and Jesus, I'm forgetting the name of the other brilliant Brazilian centre mid. Help me out here. They bought him as a striker originally and moved him into centre mid.
Joe Linton.
Joe Linton, that's the one. Yeah, with those 3 in midfield, they've got arguably one of the best centre mids. They've got one of the best midfields in the league, and maybe we just go for a slow approach with midfielders out wide that can tuck inside and become sort of a 5-man midfield to outnumber them. Maybe that happens. He's spoken about using ESR out on the left in previous press conferences. It's going to be interesting. It's either that or Adama Traore starts because we see Alex Iwobi staying out left. Kevin won't start until the Wickham game, in my opinion. It's clear that he's trying to slowly integrate him back into it. The things we're enjoying most about Kevin, I have a feeling that Marco Silva probably doesn't appreciate as much as we do. Marco Silva's a very systematic player and likes people to be stringent to the system. So when he sees players just sort of scooping the ball over players' heads and being very direct and aggressive and then losing the ball, I can see him not particularly being too pleased by that. And maybe he's trying to iron out some of these, what he would call, it's hard to phrase it, but basically
Mavericks or showboating.
Yeah, very much that. It's knowing when to do it and when not to do it, and maybe he's trying to iron that out of his game before introducing him properly into the Premier League games, because he would have seen that penalty incident, or even though we got away with it, as a really big risk from Kevin, and something he probably wants to try and iron out of his game. Things like that, being too aggressive in a tackle and stuff because of how systematic Marco Silva is. And we've heard that from previous players' interviews as well, that Marco Silva is so stringent on his way of playing football and doesn't want players to take too many risks and control the tempo and stick to the game plan.
Yeah, no, I can see that and I can understand it too. But, I
doesn't mean I agree,
I don't want him to lose that bit of individuality. No. At the moment, he's the only player, other than maybe Josh King, who looks like at any moment he could do something special. Not that we've seen that much yet, but you know what I mean? It's hard to do that when you're only getting 10 minutes, 15 minutes of a game, and half of those games we've been chasing. It's a bit hard for him to do that. All right, well let's finish the pod how we always do. I want a player to watch in both teams and a scoreline prediction from everyone, please. Drew, I'm going to start with you, mate. Can I get a player to watch from both teams and a scoreline prediction, please?
Player to watch. I think Gordon's going to have a good game because he just seems to against us. I mean, he was sensational first half last season. Their new striker, and his name, I was looking at his name a couple of minutes ago.
Walter Maddo.
Yeah, he seems to have started quite well. But, I mean, Guimarães is obviously, he's easy to go for. But I think Gordon's the one that's, he always does well against us, and he is a really good player. For us, a lot of it depends on what sort of system we play. I mean, Josh is the obvious one because he's always worth watching. Kevin, I'd nominate, but he just doesn't start. I think if we're going to do well, I think Cuenca has to play well again because he is really emerging. So I wasn't so much a player to watch, but one that we're really going to need is going to be Cuenca. So yeah, I'll go for him and Gordon for Newcastle. I think I so want to say we're going to win, but I think Newcastle might be a bit too strong for us this time. So I think it'll be I don't think we're going to get hammered, but I think it may be 2-0 Newcastle.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. AJ, how about yourself, mate? Player to watch on both teams and scoreline prediction, please.
This is a game that will go one or two ways based on how we set up. And it's literally as soon as we know the team sheet knows if we've lost this game or not, frankly. If we do what Drew said and we sort of go to a back five with two in the middle, I feel we've already lost the match because of how good their midfield is. And it's for that reason that my players to watch are Tonali and Sander Berge. It's going to be a tough battle between those two. And if Sander Berge has some of the performances like he has for the first few games of this season, granted he was very good at Arsenal, but if he has games like he has for the first few games of this season, we are really, really going to struggle against their midfield. So those are my two players to watch. Scoreline prediction, honestly, with Wilfred Made's goal scoring prowess so far this season. I think he's already got 5 goals in 6 games or something like that in all competitions. Their ridiculous midfield and the fact that they can be quite good defensively. 3-0 Newcastle.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. I'll explain why I think that's a fair shout in a minute. Mozza, how about yourself, mate? Can I have players to watch and a scoreline prediction, please?
Yeah, so as I said, I would circle back to what I was previously talking about earlier. Player to watch for us, yeah, I'd let the cat out of the bag. Josh King. I really do think we're going to see a goal from him. And also, I just think he's going to be our man on fire as he has been in every game that we've seen him play so far. And I think he is sniffing and he is due his debut goal. As for Newcastle, lest we forget, at time of recording, they beat, was it Benfica 3-0? Was it last night?
Yeah.
Gordon, was it Gordon and Barnes? One of them. Gordon scored, Barnes 2 goals. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
I think last season I mentioned Gordon both times as their player to watch, but I think yeah. Sorry to repeat myself. We did get 6 points out of Newcastle last season, and I think in both of those games Gordon didn't shine. If he did play both of them, I know he at least played one, as I remember. But based on their result against Benfica, I am going to say Barnes as a winger. I think the wings are going to be a lot of trouble for us. And as AJ's just said, it's a game that really does depend on how we set up our formation. So I think we need our brick shit houses like on form. We need Bassi. We do need Berge and Lukic all trying to make sure that doesn't give us any trouble down either side of the wings, really. And Cess, even if he is at left back, will be good enough to do that. Castagna, because he just always puts in the shift, I think he's got the legs to be able to do it more than Tete has, because I just don't think Tete is match fit at the moment. But I won't be disappointed if he starts over him. Scoreline prediction, boys. I'm going for a Desmond.
You love a Desmond, didn't you? You do love a Desmond.
I don't think I do him enough, mate. But I can see. I don't know. I've got a feeling 2-2, and I've only ever got one prediction right on this podcast, so I'll likely be wrong.
I'm sad to say I'm currently 3 out of 4 in the last couple of weeks, which is annoying because I've never been positive, bro. For me, players to watch. Harvey Barnes was the player for me to watch from them. I thought he was superb for them in the Champions League. Whether or not he plays or not, I don't know. That is one of the changes that they tend to make in the league compared to Champions League, is sort of switching out that player who plays out wide. Joe Linton, Tonali are both 2 outstanding footballers. I love watching them play football. I don't really want to enjoy watching them play football on Saturday, so that wouldn't be too surprising to them. I think weirdly, Lewis Hall might be a player to watch out for, because he's one of those players that he often gets forgotten about when you look at the other players in their squad, and then he can pop up and he has performances. Their striker's outstanding. We go for that. For us, I'm gonna have to go for Raul. I thought Raul did really well last week against Arsenal. He did an awful lot of running. He did an awful lot of hold-up play. It was just really frustrating that he was never in the box to get on the end of anything because he was chasing the ball so much, and that wasn't his fault. He was trying to give the team as much outlet as he physically could, considering the restraints on the game. I don't think Newcastle are as good as Arsenal are, so I don't think that will happen as much. So we may get a few opportunities, but if they play in midfield like they can do, we're going to have to move things around quite a lot. So we'll see how that goes. Scoreline wise, I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle, but I imagine it's going to be one of those games where they'll take a 2-0 lead and just we'll probably get a consolation at the end, and they'll walk it, and it won't be that hard because the way things are going for us at the moment, it wouldn't be that beyond us to not even lay a glove on them. You know, it's a real concern to me the way we've been playing lately in terms of stuff like that, especially when things go against us. So we'll see. The mentality of the players again is going to be key going into this game on Saturday. Lads, thank you very much for joining me on this match preview. We'll be back on Tuesday next week with our match preview and review of this game and our preview for the Wickham game coming up in the cup next week. The Wickham game, we are excited because we will be there. So the Ful-on team, minus AJ, sadly, will be at the game. So we're hoping that we'll see some players come through for that. But we'll talk about that next week. Lads, hope you all have a good weekend. Drew, I know you're going up to this game this weekend, aren't you? So hopefully, Fulham don't make walking up that 127 flights of stairs that painful. Enjoy the game, and hopefully Fulham can not disappoint and actually make us happy. Not really
And
much
wear
more
your
to say, is there?
Fitbit.
Other than that, yeah, is come on you whites, and let's see how it goes. Eh?